violence hit Murshidabad is under control. The government has informed the court that several affected families have taken shelter in relief camps. Efforts are being made to facilitate the return of the displaced individuals to their homes. Earlier in the day, Bengal Governor Nanda Bose met Hindus who fled Murshidabad after the violence, assuring help to those affected. Now, a team from the NHRC also visited a refugee camp in Malda to assess the situation and provide support to the displaced families. The NHRC will monitor the condition in the relief camps and make recommendations to ensure the safety and well-being of the affected individuals. Meanwhile, NCW chairperson Vijaya Rahatkar also landed in West Bengal to lead an inquiry into the violence. She will visit affected areas and has done so, including Malda and Murshidabad, over the next 3 days. West Bengal's government claims that the law and order situation in violence-hit areas is under control, that peace is returning to Murshidabad. But is that so on ground level? There are no fresh incidents of violence which have been reported so far, but an eerie calm prevails. CNN News 18's Anindya Banerjee gets us a ground report that has unraveled the truth on ground. Remember, CNN News 18 is one of the few channels present in Murshidabad, which happens to be the epicenter of the violence that Bengal has witnessed in the days gone by.
At the heart of Dhulian, Shamsherganj. In fact, I'm at Jafrabad. Jafrabad, where two people, a father and son duo, were killed just few meters from here. I am with Krishna Chandrapal, one such family, a Hindu family, who is worried, whose house has been ransacked and they're about to flee. The allegations that were called baseless, now one can see with your own eyes Krishna Chandrapal, who has been living with from his forefathers for 100 years in this house and in this place are living. Sir, क्यों जा रहे हैं आप छोड़ के?
हम इस लोग को उपद्रव से चल जा रहे हैं. इस लोग का हम घर बाड़ी जला दिया, हम लोग को जान मारने के हुमकी दे रहे हैं, तो हम कह रह गया.
उस दिन क्या हुआ था? उस दिन हुआ क्या?
उस दिन में हजार लोग आया और हम लोग को घर बार टूटा दिया, मार देने का कोशिश किया, इसलिए हम पीछे तरह से भाग गया. डीजल देखता है गिरा, डीजल से हमको पूरा मार के.
तो डीजल बम फेंका?
हाँ, डीजल वो देखना गिरा है.
মনে করেছিলাম এইখানে এসেছি, বউ হয়ে এখানেই মরবো, এখানেই বাঁচবো, কিন্তু আমাদেরকে থাকতে দিল না. আমার তিনটা মেয়েকে নিয়ে আমি পিছন দিক দিয়ে বাড়িয়ে গেছি. আমার দিকে মেরে ফেলে, বলছে কি বাড়িয়ে মেরে ফেলে দেবো. কেরোসিন ঢালছে, কেরোসিন, বোমা, ডিজেল এগুলো দিয়ে. আর সোনা ছিল 10 ভরি সোনা, টাকা ছিল 3 লাখ টাকা, সব.
She's crying and she's saying that the day it all happened, 3 lakh were looted, almost 100 grams of 10 bhari of gold jewelry were stolen, and she, along with 3 of her daughters, had to flee from a back way, and that's how they just managed to save their lives. Petrol bombs were hurled at them, and that's the allegation, and that's why they're leaving. আপনি ছেড়ে চলে যাচ্ছেন?
ছেড়ে চলে যাচ্ছি, কি কোথায় যাবে? এখানে থাকতে পারবো না, আতঙ্ক লাগছে যে এই দিক থেকে লোক চলে আসবে, ওই দিক থেকে হাঙ্গামা করবে. আমরা বিএসএফ এর ক্যাম্প চাই, আমরা বাঁচবো না.
She's saying that we want a BSF camp here, and unless that happens, we're going to
শাসন চাই.
শাসন চাই
আর কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন চাই.
কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন চাই.
কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন.
কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন চাই.
They're asking for a president's rule in the.
All right, so you saw those shocking testimonies, and now locals being arrested for the killings. Mamata Banerjee insists that this is all a conspiracy by outsiders. She has also asked that no one should visit the areas, hinting at Governor C.V. Anand Bose's visit as well. She said that some leaders are disguising themselves as good people but want to catch fish in troubled waters. She claims peace is returning and therefore these political visits must be avoided. She also attacked the central forces and reiterated her charge that the BSF personnel created trouble. But Mamata Banerjee is yet to meet the victims herself. The Hindus are sounding an SOS to the centre. They are appealing for help in this situation of distress. Today, Governor C.V. Anand Bose visited the riot victims. National Commission of Women Chief Vijaya Rahatkar also visited the violence-hit areas and assured all possible aid to the aggrieved.
Cult of violence has there been in Bengal for a long time. This is a pernicious trend which cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. Strong action has to be taken.
मैं इतना ही कहूँगी कि महिलाओं के लिए सभी लोगों ने बहुत संवेदनशील रहना चाहिए। ये संवेदनशीलता ही महिलाओं को न्याय दे सकती है। इस संवेदनशीलता की अगर कमी होती है तो इस तरह की स्थिति आ जाती है।
Try and bring in our guests today. I'm joined in by Sanju Verma, who's the national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, Sofia Khan, who's a leader of the Trinamool Congress. Good to see you women. Many thanks to both of you for joining in. Sofia, I want to ask you, during that outreach that was made by the Bengal Chief Minister to the Imams and the Muezzins, she said that the Muslims should not fall in the trap that's being laid out by the BJP. I want to ask you, why is the Chief Minister calling this a trap being laid out by the Bharatiya Janata Party?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to pay condolence to the family who lost 3 family members in Murshidabad, and also we are with Hindu families in this hour of grief who became victim of this conspiracy. Yes, we call it conspiracy. I'll come later to it. Mamata Banerjee met Imam and Muezzin not for any appeasement politics as per BJP. She went to meet so that the Imam and Muezzin can appeal to the Muslims who are protesting on road of Bengal or who are protesting in all over the country, so that there should be peaceful protest. Though the protests are peaceful, except some of the areas like border areas of Murshidabad and surrounding areas. We know that the Murshidabad is not only surrounded by Bangladesh borders, but there were some incidents in past also because of these things. And we can see that BJP is only concerned with, you can say that, appeasement politics or polarization. They want to do. They want to divide nation in name of.
No, but I want to ask you, who is indulging in appeasement politics? Who's indulging in appeasement politics? Is it just the BJP?
If the government
You're the one making that outreach to a particular community.
Akanksha, if they cannot,
I'm coming to you, Sanju. I'm going to give you time. Yes, Sophia, finish your point quickly.
Minority of this country had faith on Supreme Court. That's the reason even the bill was passed. Hundreds of petitions were filed, and lakhs of people are on road. And the situation was intentionally created.
Okay, since you are hurling a massive charge that the situation was intentionally created.
In 2026, Bengal have election.
Okay, Sanju, come in. Is it an intentionally created situation? This is now being called a conspiracy being hashed by the BJP.
20 crores Muslims are protesting.
Let me hear. Yes, I'm asking you, Sanju. This is a question for Sanju Verma.
Yes, I am just requesting you, Akanksha. I listened very patiently to the TMC spokesperson without heckling her. I expect that courtesy from her. I will not allow myself to be interjected.
Okay.
Thank you. First and foremost, Akanksha, let's get this very clear. Law and order under the 7th schedule of the Constitution is a state subject. Mamata Banerjee has failed as the Chief Minister. More importantly, Mamata Banerjee has also failed as the Home Minister because she is directly responsible for maintaining law and order, and law and order has taken a flying leap out of the window. My third and most important point is this. Murshidabad seems to be a place where, crime keeps repeating itself in cycles. Do you remember, not so long back, there was a man called Shah Jahan Sheikh, very close confidant of Mamata Banerjee. He was arrested after Supreme Court's intervention after 62 long days. For 62 long days, Mamata Banerjee kept telling the Supreme Court he is absconding. Shah Jahan Sheikh to lapata hai, and Shah Jahan Sheikh is a TMC leader. Then let me take you to 2022. Do you remember 12 people were burnt alive in Birbhum, the Birbhum massacre? And whom did Mamata Banerjee blame? She blamed the BJP, the BSF. Finally, it was found that the key perpetrator, Anwarul Hussain, is a TMC leader. In the Hansakhali gang raid 2 years back, Whom did Mamata Banerjee blame? ये तो बीजेपी की साजिश है. बाद में पता पड़ा the key perpetrator of Hansakhali gang rape is TMC MLA's son. And very quickly, I just want to say this to your audience, Akanksha, because they're the biggest stakeholders in debates like these. Have you seen the audacity of Sagarika Ghosh, Rajya Sabha MP? What does she say? Saffron goons have been unable to come to terms with the fact that, West Bengal has given them a crushing defeat.
Okay.
What does Yusuf Pathan do? He's busy posting pictures and X with a cup of tea, and then you have Derek O'Brien posting pictures of Machar Jhol.
Okay.
My limited point is the key member of parliament who supposedly representing Murshidabad, Yusuf Pathan, is behaving as if kuch hua hi nahi. Sagarika Ghosh is saying hua to hua. Mahua Moitra is saying hua to hua. This is the...
Let's hear what Sophia has to say. But Sophia, I know you want to come back with a rebuttal, Sophia, but I have a question for you, and this is straight from the horse's mouth. I'm not here to support any political party. I'm giving you facts from the ground. CNN News 18 has been reporting ever since the violence broke out from Murshidabad, 130 houses burnt in Bekbona. This is one of the villages I'm sure you are aware of, and all of these 130 houses that have been burnt down are of Hindus. Is this not targeted killing of Hindus? Then what is?
First of all, I would like to answer BJP spokesperson. She was talking about Bashir Hat and Sandesh Khali and Shahjahan Sheikh. In spite of all these agendas, alas, in 2024, from Sandesh Khali means Bashir Hat, our MP Nurul Sheikh Nurul Islam won the election. Most of the MPs of Bengal are from Trinamool. In spite of all their agendas, all their conspiracies, that Bengal is burning. Bengal is, according to them, since 2021, Bengal is burning.
No, then why is the Supreme Court required? Then why is the Supreme Court required to intervene? If TMC was so...
How Mamata Banerjee is winning by so much margins of votes? How? How is it possible? Only by Muslim votes.
Okay, Sanju Verma, how is...
Okay, second question is, when you are saying that Murshidabad is burning, I am not denying the fact that
Okay, you raised a question, Sophia. Yes, Sanju. Sophia, you raised a question.
Almost under control.
You raised a question. Let me take the answer. Sophia, let me also hear it from what Sanju has to say. You raised a question. Let's hear it.
No.
Yes.
I'm
please, madam.
Sophia, give the co-panelist. Give the co-panelist. Yes,
Let me
Sophia.
answer. Murshidabad is a border area.
Giving her
Murshidabad is a border area.
Keep quiet. Akansha, you refuse to debate.
All right. No. Sophia, I am going to request you to hold your horses for 15 seconds. Let me take a response from Sanju. I'll come back to you. Yes. Sanju, 15 seconds.
No, why 15 seconds? She spoke for 2 minutes. I need that time. You're not doing
Okay, you go ahead. Go ahead. Take a minute. Take a minute.
Thank you. Let me now say this, Akansha, very, very clearly. The Kolkata High Court was on vacation. A vacation bench of Justice Somen Sen and Justice Raja Basu Chaudhary. What did they say to the Mamata Banerjee government on the Murshidabad violence? They raised 3 points. First, Justice Sen said, if you are unable to maintain law and order, let us know. We will find an alternative, clearly castigating Mamata Banerjee in no uncertain terms. The second question that Dr. Raja Basu Chaudhary, Justice Raja Basu Chaudhary raised was, why is it that you are not requisitioning for central government forces when you are unable to maintain law and order? Mamata Banerjee had no answer. The third question raised by the Kolkata High Court was, why is it that you are not giving operational freedom to the BSF? Again, Mamata Banerjee had no answer. My final point is this, Akansha. I always say that numbers don't lie. I'm reading out from the provisional NCRB data. 2.37 lakh communal violence incidents in 2021 from West Bengal alone. 3.49 lakh communal violence incidents from West Bengal in 2022. And 4.73 lakh communal violence incidents from West Bengal in 2023. और ममता बनर्जी उनके रिटेनर टीवी डिबेट पर आकर कहते हैं हमारी पीठ थपथपाइए, हमारे लिए तालियां बजाइए, हमें शाबाशी दीजिए. I just want to end by saying one thing, Akansha. Had this happened in Uttar Pradesh, you would be baying for Yogi's blood. Had this happened in Assam, you would be baying for Himanta Biswa's blood. Had this happened in Uttarakhand,
Yes.
you would be paying for Pushkar Singh Dhami's blood. Why is it when it
I'm
happens
coming
in
to that.
Bengal,
I'm coming
you want
to that.
teach
I'm
it to
coming to
Mamta?
that. I'm coming to that if you allow me.
Akansha ji, let me
Yes,
speak.
Sophia, please go ahead. But please keep the Big Bona question also in mind. 130 houses of Hindus burnt down. Many of them displaced over to Malda. What is going to be done about this? Please answer while you also
Madam.
respond to Sanju.
Madam, this is a conspiracy by BJP.
No, but
when
calling
Shukanto Majumdar
it,
said,
calling it a
when
conspiracy
Mas-
alone is
when
not
the
going to
Bengal
suffice.
President, Mr. Shukanto, listen to me. Shukanto Majumdar, Mr. Shukanto Majumdar, who is the president of BJP's Bengal's wing, he talks about what if 70% of Hindus will raise sword. This is not a bhadkao bhashan. According to them, this is not a bhadkao bhashan. Arjun Singh, who is a dwindling neta, TMC, BJP, and again now he is in BJP. He said that lots of people he will bring
But
from
Sophia,
Bihar
why
and
aren't you
Jharkhand.
answering my
It's not
question?
a bhadkao bhashan.
Do you not
But
agree
yes,
that
talking
in
about
Murshidabad,
is because
Sophia,
it is
do
a
you not
border
agree
area,
that
not
Murshidabad
Bengal.
there has
Bangladesh
been
is a
targeted killing
infiltrated.
of Hindus? That Hindus have been targeted in Murshidabad and that they are the primary
Yes, course,
victims of
Hindus are
communal
targeted
strife.
because Hindus are targeted to malign image of West Bengal, to malign image of Mamta Banerjee, targeted by BJP
Can
and
I please
RSS
come in,
wings.
Akansha? She's making
Yes,
the same
they are
point.
targeting
Sanju,
Bengal.
Sanju,
They are
Sanju,
targeting Bengal
Okay,
to
Sanju.
malign
All
image
right,
of
let's
Mamta Banerjee.
listen in.
Akansha.
Who's conspiring? Okay, Sanju, please go ahead.
Okay. Akansha, my simple point is this. Malda riots 2016. What did Mamata Banerjee say? BJP की साजिश है. Bashirhat riots 2017. She said BJP की साजिश है. 2018. Asansol riots. She said ये तो BJP की साजिश है. 2019 Jadavpur riots. She blamed the BJP. 2021 Sita Kulchi riots. She blamed the BJP. 2023 post-poll violence. In the Panchayat election, she blamed BJP. Now 2025 Murshidabad violence, she blames BJP. My limited point is this: आपसे यदि बंगाल नहीं संभलता ममता दीदी, इस्तीफा दे दो, त्याग पत्र दे दो। ममता बनर्जी यदि चीफ मिनिस्टर की कुर्सी नहीं संभल रही, तो इस्तीफा दे दो, त्याग पत्र दे दो, मैडम, त्याग पत्र दे दो। You should be ashamed of yourself. Women are being gang raped, and this woman is coming and blaming the BJP. त्याग पत्र दे दो, ममता बनर्जी।
No, I just
बंगाल नहीं संभलता तो त्याग पत्र दे दो। पहले अंग्रेजी बोलना सीखो।
Sanju, let's not get personal. Okay, it's okay. No, Sanju, I have a question for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Sophia, please allow me to ask a question from Sanju. Right, Sanju, I have a question for you for the BJP. Many are asking that why would the BJP only stand up for the Hindus? But I want to ask you, Dilip Ghosh changed the proverbial Hindu-Muslim bhai saying to Hindu bhai during a Hanuman Jayanti celebration that was taking place. And is this also, this kind of rhetoric, is this also not going to feed into the communal fire? Many are asking what has the BJP done apart from contributing to the communal rhetoric? How do you respond to those?
Akansha, first and foremost, with no offense to you, I completely denounce and debunk this reckless allegation that BJP is polarizing and BJP is communalizing the narrative. No. The BJP is calling out the bluff of Mamata Banerjee. The BJP is calling out the incompetence of Mamata Banerjee. The BJP is calling a spade a spade. Are you telling me when Hindu shops are being targeted, set on fire, there is rampant arson, loot, vandalization, Hindu women are being told, या तो पति को चुनिए या अपनी इज्जत चुनिए? Are you telling me we should consume Fevicol? Today you've seen and you mentioned at the start of your show that Vijay Rahatkar of the NCW was in Murshidabad, and women have told horrifying tales that we are being forced to flee our homes. We don't even have enough money to have a decent meal. And you're saying that the BJP is to be blamed? My simple point is this, Akansha, that why is it that Yusuf Pathan, who represents Berhampur, which is the administrative headquarters of Murshidabad, why is he missing in action? Why is
I have a question. Sophia, my last question. At a time when the governor, including the NCW chairperson, the NHRC, are visiting Bengal as a confidence building measure, why should this be stopped? Why shouldn't they be allowed if their visit is going to ensure bringing normalcy back? Sophia Khan.
First of all, we know that this is a conspiracy, that there's a strong conspiracy
No,
against
but just
West
calling
Bengal.
it conspiracy,
And I just want to
present
know
the
that
facts,
how could
present
even
the
they
facts.
think that Muslims...
We have had people talk to CNN News 18 where they are saying that had it not been for BSF, the Hindus and the victims'
But
families would have been
listen,
completely wiped out.
I can clearly see the clipping. They are already there. They are already there. They reached there. Nobody has stopped them. Nobody has stopped them. And first of all, I would like to ask question to BJP. How could they think that Muslims should trust them when Prime Minister of this country, the Supremo of BJP, Mr. Narendra Modi, is calling Muslims puncture wala or
Listen,
No, okay, I need to wrap up. 20 seconds. Sanju Verma, 20 seconds. Sanju Verma, respond. Sophia, I need to wrap up.
Can I come in,
Sophia,
Akansha?
yes, 20 seconds. I have to wrap up. Sanju,
Thank you.
please appreciate.
Akansha, let me make this very clear. Prime Minister Modi, when he says Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, he actually walks the talk. 31% of PM Awas Yojana, the beneficiaries are minorities, especially Muslims. 33% of Ayushman Bharat, the beneficiaries are minorities, especially Muslims.
Okay.
37% of Mudra Yojana, the major beneficiaries are Muslims. And I want to tell Sophia Khan, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के बारे में बोलने की मैडम ना तो आपकी हैसियत है ना औकात है, शांत हो जाइए.
All right, many thanks to you women for participating in the discussion here on Brass Tacks. Appreciate your time. And with that, let me now shift focus over to Bangladesh. It was only months ago when horrifying images of loot, attack, violence on Hindu minorities were taking place. A complete mayhem was ensuing on streets of Bangladesh. It sent shockwaves indeed across the global community. It was the worst persecution suffered by Hindus in recent times. Can one really overlook these doings of the last 8 months? Certainly not, but it seems like Bangladesh has, for it has completely turned a blind eye to the suffering of Hindus and has tried to lecture India about what it has called attacks on minorities in India. New Delhi has hit back with a strong worded answer. Bangladesh has condemned what is being claimed to be attacks on Muslims causing loss of lives and properties in India. Hitting back, India has asked Bangladesh to first take note of people responsible for minority persecution who are roaming around free in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has urged Government of India to take necessary action. India, of course, has replied to the same, calling it a barely disguised attempt to draw parallels with Bangladesh. Bangladesh further urged the Indian government to protect the minority Muslims, and in response, India has asked Bangladesh to first focus on protecting the minority rights in their own country. This clearly seems like a desperate attempt by Dhaka to peddle anti-Bharat rhetoric, and here's why we say so. Firstly, it is to divert attention from Bangladesh's own domestic crisis. Secondly, it seems like an attempt to divert attention from the economic instability that is plaguing Bangladesh and to consolidate support among Islamist factions by weaponizing the Waqf Amendment Act and to advance geopolitical and domestic agendas. For more perspective on this, I'm joined in by Ms. Veena Sikri, who is a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Let's quickly get in some perspective from her. Ms. Sikri, how do you assess when... Namaste. Good to have you on the show. Ms. Sikri, you know, we've heard the response come in from the Honourable Spokesperson of the MEA, where Mr. Jaiswal has also said that, you know, this is, of course, selective narrative that is being peddled, and that Bangladesh ought to also address their own situation when it comes to the minorities, because the facts on ground level, as we were just debating right now, are very different in Bengal. How do you assess this kind of virtue signalling that the MEA has labelled it as?
Yeah. Well, I agree with what the MEA statement is there. It's an absolutely accurate and correct statement that the Ministry of External Affairs has made. But in the first place, I'd like to point out that the statement made by Bangladesh, by Shafiqul Alam, the press secretary to Muhammad Yunus, it's a very defensive statement. And the first point that he is trying to rebut in the statement is the absolutely accepted opinion in India that a lot of people came over from Bangladesh. They infiltrated and aided and abetted the attacks in India. And secondly, we must point out that in Murshidabad, the attacks were on the Hindus. Actually, the attacks were on the Hindus. So what are they talking about, you know? It is the Muslim minority community who was making the attacks in Bangladesh. They were trying to intimidate the Hindus living there, because we know in Murshidabad district, there's a very high percentage of the Muslims living there. And they were trying to push out the Hindus from that district. That is what they were trying to do, and I think that is why Shafiqul Alam, the press secretary to Muhammad Yunus, made this statement. And of course, he then tried to bring out and saying that, oh, but India is persecuting, minorities. And look at that. The truth of what is happening in Murshidabad is the exact opposite. So I think that the Bangladesh government needs to correct their own perspective on the facts of what is happening. And secondly, I would like to add to the number of points that you have raised as to why they are doing it. Certainly, they're trying to divert attention from the economic crisis they are facing, but they are also at all times trying to strengthen the anti-Indian feeling in Bangladesh.
And when you talk about the anti-Indian feeling, Ms. Sikri, I can't help but also refer to reports coming in from the MHA itself, where they are talking about an alleged Bangladeshi hand in fanning those riots. Of course, they are also claiming that there have been local support from the TMC leaders at the grassroots level. But having said that, that kind of fanning of this communal sentiment now coming in from Bangladesh, we've seen the overtures between Dhaka and Islamabad. General Asim Munir's speech, again becoming a proponent of that divide, the ideological divide between India and Pakistan. What do you make of the situation overall in the larger geopolitical context?
Absolutely. The Pakistan interim regime is not even a government, it's an unconstitutional government. They're only there to hold elections, but they're doing anything but. They're doing anything but holding elections. They're, trying to make their own new foreign policy, trying to do reforms, which is not the work or the task of an interim regime at all. Their only task is to have elections, and it's the elected government who will do all this. But part of what they're doing in these last few months, as you have correctly pointed out, is creating this absolute cozy atmosphere with Pakistan and with China. And we've seen how even today, as we speak, the Pakistan Foreign Secretary is in Dhaka, and they are having talks with the Bangladeshis, and there's even a talk that when Muhammad Yunus went to China, there was talk of modernizing the Lal Munirat Bangladesh Air Force Base very near the Siliguri corridor, and that this would be funded by China and done by Pakistan. The contractor would be Pakistani. So you can imagine how they are trying to, at all times, cross India's security red lines, threaten the border with India, and creating a situation as uncomfortable from the security point of view as possible for India. Now, this is a very serious situation, actually, that they are trying to create. And all in all, because Muhammad Yunus is really not his own person in this job that he's doing, he is really backed by the Islamists, by the Jamaat-e-Islami, by the Hizb ut-Tahrir, by Hifazat-e-Islam, by Islami Andolan Bangladesh. So whatever he says is the agenda of the Islamists. They're trying to bring together all the Islamist forces in Bangladesh, combine them with the Islamist forces in Pakistan, and you saw that General Asim Munir's statement in Islamabad was terrible. I mean, his rhetoric against India, what he said about Kashmir, unacceptable. All trying to fan this anti-India sentiment in Pakistan, and of course, it will be played in very big way in Bangladesh as well.
So then what does it speak of the ongoing diplomacy between Dhaka and New Delhi? I mean, you are hearing this kind of commentary days after Prime Minister had a very civil meeting with Muhammad Yunus in Bangkok. And that again was a meeting that took place after his very controversial remarks on the Northeast. So what is one to make of the kind of diplomatic overtures that we've exchanged so far? It seems more like a vain attempt.
Well, I think that the meeting in the meeting between Muhammad Yunus and Prime Minister Modi in Bangkok, I would see it much more in the context of the fact that Bangladesh is now the chair of BIMSTEC. They're going to be the chair of BIMSTEC for the next 2 years. And I think it's important for India, because India attaches a lot of importance to BIMSTEC. So to keep in touch with the chair of BIMSTEC and to follow the agenda that we want to promote with BIMSTEC in terms of trade, in terms of interaction and so on. So that meeting having took place, I must tell you that I think our Prime Minister was able to absolutely, in a way, read the Riot Act to Professor Muhammad Yunus and explain to him what India's security red lines were, and to tell him that all that he's been doing, all the rhetoric he's indulging in, including what he said in China, this is unacceptable and it should not be done if he wants good relations with India. Now the question is, does Muhammad Yunus want good relations with India? Do the people behind him, the Islamist forces, do they want good relations with India? That's the question.
Also, my last question, Ms. Sikri, how do you speak to those skeptics who are saying that good relations between Dhaka and New Delhi will not be possible till there's a Sheikh Hasina seeking refuge in New Delhi? How do you respond?
No, not at all. There's nothing to do with it. I mean, come on. The Dalai Lama has been in India for how many decades? And this is not in any way, done about relations with India and China. They've been good. Of course, now it's in a difficult position coming out of it again. So it's not, I mean, the Dalai Lama has been here. And the Dalai Lama, yes, he does not indulge in any political activity. That's absolutely fine. Sheikh Hasina was pushed out of Dhaka. It was a regime change operation. This is not a constitutionally elected government that is there in Dhaka today. So if she is in India, and India has said that she's most welcome to stay, she has been a friend of India. I must tell you, during the 15 years that she was Prime Minister between 2009 to 2024, she respected all India's security red lines. And it is because of that that the bilateral relationship was able to proceed by leaps and bounds and achieve so much success in the economic sector. Bangladesh had 6 to 7% economic growth every year. And look at it today. The factories are closed, there are no jobs, there's no employment, and the Bangladesh regime is trying to stop imports from India of cotton yarn and other items like that, which is only harming the Bangladesh export sector, their biggest export sector, which is ready-made garments. But they're doing it because they want to encourage imports of the same cotton yarn from Pakistan, from USA, from other countries, and prevent India from getting this market in Bangladesh.
I'm sure as an economist, Muhammad Yunus will also know who stands to gain and who stands to lose in this relationship. I'm sure you'll agree to Ms. Sikri. Many thanks to you for joining in on Brass Tacks. Pleasure speaking to you. Now, the centre versus judiciary debate is raging on. This after Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar commented on the powers of the Supreme Court and stated that Article 142 is being used as a nuclear weapon against democracy with judiciary, and that there cannot be a situation where the courts direct the president, so far regarded as a veto power in Indian democracy. Listen in.
Article 142. Article 142 has become a nuclear missile against democratic forces. Available to judiciary 24/7. Judges who will legislate, who will perform executive functions, who will act as super parliament, and absolutely have no accountability because law of the land does not apply to them. We cannot have a situation where you direct President of India, and on what basis?
So what exactly is Article 142 that's become the latest topic of debate? Article 142 gives the Supreme Court the power to transcend limitations of a law or statute in order to ensure justice to the parties involved. The article enables Supreme Court to exercise executive and legislative functions in certain situations, such as issuing of guidelines, directions or orders to the government or other authorities. It also allows Supreme Court to intervene in matters of public interest, human rights, constitutional values or fundamental rights in a bid to protect them from any kind of violation or infringement. Vice President Dhankhar's comment has left the judiciary divided. Now, what to do if the governors sit endlessly on bills passed in assemblies, but was the Supreme Court order the right solution for it? We'll break down that question for you, but let's also listen in to what Jagdeep Dhankhar had to say.
On the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, वो बात सरकार केंद्र सरकार पे जाती है, केंद्र सरकार के Council of Ministers पे जाती है, वो एडवाइस करते हैं प्रेसिडेंट को कि क्या करना है। ये प्रेसिडेंट का कोई व्यक्तिगत हक नहीं है, ये धनखड़ जी को मालूम होना चाहिए। उन्होंने कहा कि आप प्रेसिडेंट की पावर को कैसे कंट्रोल कर सकते हो, भाई कौन कर रहा है प्रेसिडेंट की पावर को कंट्रोल?
I'm not on the issue it is right or it is not justified, but as the Constitution does not contemplate about the time-bound framework, and expect that whosoever is discharging duties must discharge at the earliest possible. If guidelines or time-bound guidelines, to my understanding, should have been avoided.
All right, so mixed views, but many also are of the view that time-bound guidelines should be followed. But what is to be done, in fact, when governors sit endlessly on bills that are being passed in assemblies? That is also a key question. Was the Supreme Court order the right solution for it? The reason this judgment is creating issues is because of the following factors. First, it has laid down detailed guidelines for how a governor ought to act in refusing assent to a bill or even referring it to the president, and given itself the power to issue a mandamus to the governor for failing to act. Secondly, it has exercised its powers under Article 142 to hold that the bills the Tamil Nadu governor did not assent to have become the law. Thirdly, it has given itself the power to issue a mandamus to the president when a bill has been referred to the president by the governor. Now, the opposition has trained its guns at Vice President Dhankhar after his attack on the centre. Listen into what the attacks have been like.
अब ये नहीं कह सकते कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब हमारे हित की बात करेगा तब हम स्वीकार करेंगे और जो हमारे खिलाफ जाएगा तो हम उसको नकार देंगे, ये नहीं आप कह सकते हैं। सुप्रीम कोर्ट का अगर फैसला है आपके हित में हो या आपके अहित में हो, उस फैसले को मानना है।
This is a contemptuous in character. This is a contempt, clear contempt. You see, a person who is holding the constitutional post, like the Vice President, he should first respect the constitutional institution like Supreme Court. This is a minimum expectation from a Vice President.
राजनीति के एक ऐसे कालखंड में हैं जहां हमें इन चीज़ों पे बहुत संवेदना से सोचने की ज़रूरत है। एग्जीक्यूटिव हो, लेजिस्लेचर हो, जुडिशियरी हो, यहाँ तक कि मीडिया भी हो। अगर इसमें एक फाइन बैलेंस नहीं रहा तो मेरा मानना है कि किसी को ओवररीच से बचना चाहिए।
All right, let me bring in our guests tonight. I'm joined in by Mr. Diljit Singh Ahluwalia, who's a senior advocate at the Supreme Court. I'm also joined in by Mr. Anil Tiwari, who's the president at the Allahabad High Court Bar Association. I actually want to bring in Mr. Anil Tiwari first. Mr. Tiwari, the biggest question that I'd like to, that is the topic of the discussion is that when you see as far as governors are concerned, and we were just talking about it, the Tamil Nadu governor, R.N. Ravi, was sitting over one of the bills since the year 2020. Don't such incidents justify the ruling of the Supreme Court of April 8th?
Okay, what I want to say is, in the present scenario, Supreme Court has passed an order directing even if President is not giving the assent and this bill is being pending since last so many years, that will become law. You can see this judgment from two angles. One angle is that Supreme Court is justified in fixing the timeline to protect the will of the people. But the doubt is created and controversy is created just because of one person whose name is Justice Yashwant Verma. The institution which is asking the President to be accountable to the public, whether that institution is really accountable to anybody. आज ये सवाल इसलिए खड़ा हुआ है क्योंकि जस्टिस यशवंत वर्मा के प्रकरण में इन हाउस कमेटी की इंक्वायरी आज तक पब्लिक डोमेन में नहीं है, डिस्पाइट दिस फैक्ट दैट मोर देन 30 days आर ओवर। तो क्वेश्चन फिर वहीं पहुंच जा रहा है कि पब्लिक ट्रस्ट होता, अगर पब्लिक ट्रस्ट जो है वही जुडिशरी का वीपन है, वही जुडिशरी की ताकत है। आज एक डेंट की वजह से मौका है हम सबको यह कहने का कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज क्रॉसिंग, दैट जजमेंट हैज डायरेक्टेड द प्रेसिडेंट एंड दिस इज नेवर कंटेम्पलेटेड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। अगर ये जुडिशरी का ये जो सिस्टम है ये पब्लिक के साथ अकाउंटेबल होता तो शायद ये बात उठती ही नहीं। ये तो हुआ, मैंने बताया, ये बात उठ क्यों रही है। अब सवाल वो है कि आज धनखड़ साहब ने जितनी बातें कही, मैं पिछले 20-25 दिनों से वही बातें आपसे कह रहा हूं, जो आम जनता से कह रहा हूं। मेरे लिए आसान नहीं है ये सब बोलना। मुझे पता है कि जो मैं बोल रहा हूं उसके रिपरकशंस भी होते हैं, मुझे ये मालूम है। लेकिन मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूं? मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूं कि अगर आज जुडिशरी ने ओवर स्टेपिंग की है, ओवर स्टेपिंग मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि देयर इज अ फाइन बैलेंस बिटवीन 3 ऑर्गन्स ऑफ द स्टेट, लेजिस्लेचर, एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड दैट जुडिशरी। एंड 1974 या 71 में जब केशवानंद भारती जजमेंट आया तो उसमें यह कहा गया कि सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर इज अ बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर। सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर हमारे यहां बहुत टाइट कंपार्टमेंट नहीं है, ओवरलैपिंग है, बट स्टिल दैट इज द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर। प्रेसिडेंट इज सपोज टू वर्क ऑन द एडवाइस ऑफ काउंसिल, बट हियर द सुप्रीम कोर्ट डायरेक्ट्स 2 थिंग्स, 3 चीजें उसमें बहुत परेशान करने वाली जजमेंट में। नंबर 1, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि केवल यही इंस्टेंस नहीं है, और भी आगे इनलार्ज हो सकता है जहां हम इस तरह के डायरेक्शंस इशू कर सकते हैं। मीनिंग देयर बाय at this time there is a question of bill pending for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Alright, Mr. Tiwari, मैं आपके पॉइंट से पूरी तरह सहमत हूँ। Separation of powers, that of course is unquestionable according to our honorable constitution of the country. But I want to bring in Mr. Ahluwalia on that note. I think very rightly what Mr. Tiwari was referring to, Mr. Ahluwalia, was also the case of Yashwant Verma and the cash haul at his residence, which is why I want to bring you in on that entire aspect. There are provisions for impeachment. No, let me bring in Mr. Ahluwalia. Mr. Ahluwalia, I'm sure you'll agree that there is a provision for impeachment of High Court or Supreme Court judges in the Indian Constitution, but it is a fact that no High Court or Supreme Court judge in India has been impeached so far. Going by what the Law Minister in 2022 had told the Parliament, 1600 complaints were there existing back then against High Court and Supreme Court judges, but no concrete action had been taken so far. What gives the judiciary such impunity?
All right, before I answer this question, it's important for me to talk about the judgment, which is the Tamil Nadu Governor judgment which has been rendered by the Supreme Court. In my opinion, this is one of the boldest judgments which has been given in the last decade, wherein the Supreme Court has risen to the occasion of doing the constitutional mandate of upholding the spirit of the Constitution. It is important to see the backdrop in which this particular judgment has been passed by the Supreme Court. There was earlier the case of Telangana and Punjab, where the governors in opposition ruled states were sitting on bills because of which the popular mandate of the people through the governments was getting frustrated. All they said was that we expect the governors to decide the bills in a time-bound manner. Now we come on to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, one of the bills was pending for the last 4 years. Now the moment the direction came from the Supreme Court to consider in a time-bound manner, the Honorable Governor refers it to the President. This is where the Supreme Court came down heavily on the mala fide conduct of the Honorable Governor, wherein he was acting more as a political person than a neutral and non-partisan person as the high constitution of his demands. That is what the framers of the Constitution had envisaged. Now I come on to Honorable Vice President, his remarks. I think they are totally out of line, absolutely not in tune with the high constitutional office that he holds. He called the Honorable Supreme Court to be a super parliament which is absolutely having no accountability, and the law of the land does not apply to them. All these harsh comments are absolutely unwarranted. While the parliament is the organ of the government or of the constitution which is endowed with the responsibility of making the laws, it is the judiciary which has to test the laws on the touchstone of the constitution, which is what the Honorable Supreme Court has done. In a very meticulous judgment, they say that this is how the constitution has been violated. You cannot be sitting on the bills, and they have quoted the they have also quoted the parts of the constitution which stand violated.
No, fair enough.
Having said that,
fair
now
enough.
second part which he, no, let me just complete with regard to what the Honorable Vice President has said. Article 142 is the one he says is like a nuclear missile which is being used against democratic forces. Article 142 is a salutary provision in the constitution which is there to do complete justice between the parties. Here the article 142 has been used by the Supreme Court because the framers of the constitution never envisaged a situation that the governors are going to be sitting over the bills, and to use such harsh language, may I say that the Honorable Vice President has committed criminal contempt of court because he has scandalized the authority of the court.
Right, I'm running short of time. I need to wrap up. I need to wrap up. But Mr. Tiwari, I want to bring you in. The very moot question still remains unanswered. Who checks the judiciary? The VP has rightly highlighted the cash haul at Yashwant Verma's residence. Are in-house judicial procedures better? Given that a report of the International Commission of Jurists, of course, has in itself found that in-house procedures are not only insular to the judges but also equally ineffective.
My comment is that this in-house procedure, not only this in-house procedure, rather now the time has come to reconsider the structure. What my friend Mr. Daljit has said about 142. 142 speaks only about the complete justice within the framework of Constitution of India. Supreme Court has advised them to seek advice, not advisory jurisdiction was directed to be implemented in such case. This is not to be done. President is supposed to act only on the advice of Council of Ministers.
All right, I'm afraid I'll have to leave it there.
Only one line. That
may I just make one last comment, if you don't mind, with regard to Justice Verma. There is a procedure which has been laid down by the Supreme Court with regard.
I'm afraid I'll have to leave it at that because I'm running short of time. But over to some international news stories that we are also tracking, as US Vice President JD Vance is all set to visit India next week with his family for meetings with the top leadership. That also includes Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss shared economic and geopolitical priorities. The trip to India will be the second leg of a week-long two-nation tour. This is his first visit to India. The US Vice President's visit holds special significance as it comes amid the ongoing global trade war and as negotiations between the two countries are continuing. Vice's visit follows a trip to India by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who was the first member of Trump's cabinet to travel to New Delhi in March for a security conclave and the Raisina dialogue. And for that, let me also quickly bring in our CNN senior correspondent joining me right now on the broadcast. Julia is joining us live. Thank you, Julia, for joining in. Julia Benbrook of CNN National joining us live right now. Julia, given the timing of this visit amid the trade war with China and a push for a bilateral trade agreement, tell us why JD Vance's India visit is so significant.
Well, according to a source familiar, there are several countries lining up to try and have conversations with members of the Trump administration looking to talk trade and hoping to secure some relief from President Donald Trump's recent tariff announcements. In fact, the White House has said that about 70 different countries have reached out trying to have these conversations, and Trump has said that any sort of a trade agreement will be, quote, tailor-made, not off the rack. So he's taking this kind of deal by deal here, or at least says that this is how he's doing it. Now, we saw just yesterday Italy's Prime Minister Meloni arrive here at the White House. She sat down for talks with Trump in part about trade in the Oval Office. And she was the first European leader to visit him here in Washington since his so-called Liberation Day announcement, those big tariffs that were then put on pause. So it was a closely watched meeting to see how willing the U.S. president might be to strike a deal not only with Italy, but with the larger European Union, and then, of course, with other countries. Trump did accept an invitation to visit Italy sometime soon, but Vice President JD Vance is already there. He's having another conversation with Maloney now, and then in just a few days later on in that trip, he's going to visit India. And we know that he has confirmed there will be a meeting with Prime Minister Modi during that stop.
It's interesting that you talk about that meeting with Prime Minister Modi, because that's exactly what I was coming to, and what is going to be on the agenda. What can we expect, especially in terms of tech and trade? Julia?
Well, the Vice President's office did release a few details in a statement. They talked about this whole trip with the stops in Italy and in India. And in that statement, they said, quote, the Vice President will discuss shared economic and geopolitical priorities with leaders in each country. They did, of course, then confirm that visit with Prime Minister Modi and said that the Vice President and then the second family are going to also make some stops to some different cultural sites. And this is, of course, an area that this family has strong ties to. Second Lady Usha Vance was born and raised in San Diego, California, but her parents immigrated to the United States from India.
Many thanks to you, Julia Benbrook. A pleasure having you here on Brass Tacks. With that, let's also focus over to another story, as the US Federal Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement and Removal Operations have arrested Harpreet Singh, a key terrorist operative accused of orchestrating attacks in Punjab. Harpreet Singh, aka Happy Pasya, is linked to two international terrorist groups entering the US illegally via Mexico in the year 2021 and used burner phones and encrypted apps to evade capture. Pasya is accused of terror attacks targeting police and religious sites. He is also an accused in the Chandigarh grenade attack. The NIA had announced a 5 lakh rupees bounty for his capture, for Pasya provided funds and logistical support to operatives in India. Pasya is also a close associate of Pakistan-based terrorist Rinda. Pasya's arrest comes as a massive win for India in its efforts to crack down on Khalistan elements. CNN News 18's Siddhant Mishra brings you a report.
Harpreet Singh is an alleged terrorist wanted in India for several terror attacks in Punjab. He was arrested in California on Thursday by the FBI and US immigration officials. Harpreet Singh is also known as Happy, and Jora is from Pasya village in Punjab's Amritsar district. He had lived in the United Kingdom for a short time before crossing into the US illegally from Mexico in 2021. According to Punjab police, Singh is wanted in 17 criminal cases, including charges under anti-terror and drug laws in India. 12 of those were filed between November 2022 and April 2024. How is this an achievement for the Indian side? This is the first time that FBI's release mentions Pakistan spy agency ISI and Khalistani group Babbar Khalsa as a parent organization of Harpreet Singh. This change in approach has happened very recently in FBI after Trump coming to power. This also signifies that how both India and US are now on the same page while dealing with the transnational gangs and extremist forces. On March 23rd, NIA filed a charge sheet against 4 operatives of the banned terrorist organization Babbar Khalsa International with the 2024 Chandigarh grenade attack case. According to NIA, he is a close aide of Rinda. Rinda and Harpreet were the key conspirators and handlers behind the attack. They allegedly provided logistical support, terror funds, weapons and ammunition to and on-ground operatives in India to carry out the strike. Now, since he had been arrested, India will pursue his deportation or rather extradition to try him for terror charges. This arrest sends out a strong message that America is no more a sanctuary for those who are a threat to global peace and security.
On that note, let's also take you through what the FBI's statement on Pasya's arrest has been like. The FBI has gone on to, in fact, acknowledge that Singh was wanted in India over terror attacks in Punjab. Singh suspected to have collaborated with Pakistan's ISI. Singh was also linked to Khalistan terror group Babbar Khalsa. Singh evaded capture using untraceable burner phones. That's not what India is saying. That is a direct statement coming in from the FBI. Also a direct acknowledgement and testimony to the ongoing links between Pakistan's ISI and Khalistan organizations like Babbar Khalsa. It certainly is a big win, not just for Washington, but also New Delhi. And with that, it's a quick wrap from my end. Thank you so much for watching the Brass Tacks. Up next is the Hard Facts with Rahul Shivshankar.
सस्ते वाले। Viewers, this is a very, very serious issue. India is at a crossroads, at an inflection point. The next 25 years are crucial. A lot can be undone if we don't get the basics right. And those, viewers, are determined by the strength of our institutions. The more robust they are, the more the chances of India doing exceedingly well, above even our own expectations of our own selves. Therefore, I find it quite surprising that this story that Mr. Dhankhar is one of the principal protagonists of is not being reported widely or discussed widely. Viewers, what separates a democracy from a dictatorship? In dictatorships, power flows from the center completely unchallenged.